How to stop overthinking and start living. What is overthinking? Overthinking is a phenomena whereby an individual keeps having different train or different pattern of thoughts in their head. If you're an overthinker, you're the kind of person that constantly keeps painting different scenarios in your head. Never stop painting scenarios in your head. You just you have a creative mind, but it spirals a lot. So your mind can never be quiet. You need to have something going on in your mental state. Overthinking can be quite exhausting because you never have that moment of quietness in your head. You're always thinking of something. And there's a quote that says, "He who thinks a lot has nothing to think of except thoughts." So you're just thinking and thinking and thinking. If your brain feels like a browser with 1,000 tabs open, well, I guess this is for you then. The first point here is overthinking creates problems that do not exist. Overthinking creates problems that do not exist. Overthinking, which is the process of you constantly reliving events and constantly making scenarios in your head, create problems that do not exist. What do you think? That's Captain Obvious. Obviously, if you're a person that is constantly overthinking and then some little thing happens, oh my god, that is me. Does that mean I'm an overthinker? You. To be honest, seeing a person as an overthinker sounds pretty lame and cringe. But you know what? Let's not try to be cool this evening. Let's be vulnerable. I'm vulnerable with you, so you're watching this in the comment section. Try and be vulnerable, or don't. You don't have to do anything you don't want to, because I love you. So if you want to just watch this and then think about it, that's fine. Overthinking creates problems that do not exist. Yes. Why? Well, if you're a person that constantly paints scenarios in their head and constantly just you don't have this affinity of letting things go. You have to relive events and situations. You are bound to blow things out of proportions. You are bound to misinterpret scenarios, and you are bound to paint pictures or make up stories or even find patterns and connections where there is none. Let's say that again. Overthinking creates problems that don't exist. An event happens, you overthink it, you resolve it in your head, but you don't move on. Then you think about it again, and this time you find a different meaning to it. Now, the first time you thought about it, you could have just thought about it, and probably, let's say you have a problem or a disagreement with your friend, then you don't talk about it, you just keep it to yourself, which would beckon one of the factors of why a person would overthink things, which is their inability to be outspoken or their inability to talk about things. Because if you, as a person, are able to talk about events or scenarios, then you would be able to easily move on from things. So, because you can't or you don't talk about things or you don't just express yourself, then your mind has to play different scenarios of an event in your head. So let's say two friends have an argument, friend A and friend B. Then friend A does something, friend B doesn't like it. I'm going to use names. So we have Susan and Felicia. So Susan does something to Felicia. Felicia doesn't like it. Felicia is extremely upset about what happened. But then Susan didn't see it as much of a big deal. Felicia didn't say anything about it. And Susan doesn't know anything. I mean, Susan is not a mind reader. So Felicia just keeps it in her and then she overthinks and keeps painting different scenarios in her head. Susan, on the other hand, after hanging out with Felicia, went back to her apartment and just kept living her life, doing her thing. But Felicia keeps thinking about the events, keeps painting different scenarios, and then keeps making up scenarios in her head, keeps saying problems where there is no problem. Because of Felicia's overthinking, problems would arise, and consciously and subconsciously, Felicia would, because of overthinking, starts acting differently towards Susan. And because of this, a bridge or a gap would come into their friendship. As an overthinker, in most cases, you have no control over your thoughts. Your mind just keeps going on, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna stop thinking now. You listen to music, you read a book, you try to calm your mind, you try meditation, but none of it probably works. And then you just keep thinking and thinking, and you know you're an overthinker. You don't like being an overthinker. You try to stop, but you can't stop because, to be honest, consciously stopping your mind from thinking has to be some extraterrestrial superpower. So, how do you do something that helps you to actually calm your mind as an overthinker? First things first, you have to break the loop with small steps. You have to realize that overthinking, when you are overthinking, it's your mind spiraling. So it's just going on and on and on and on, and there is no interruption. When there's a brief moment of interruption, It stops a bit, but then it continues again, and they keep thinking on and on and on. And this happens a lot with girls when they are in toxic relationships, when you have a partner that you cannot really talk to or have a form of dialogue with. So what you do is you break this loop with action. You need to, as an overthinker, realize that you have a form of emotional need that is higher than an average person. This doesn't make you weird or needy. This just simply means you are a different entity and you're not like everyone else. And that's fine. It's not a crime to be an overthinker. What you just need to do is know how to tackle the scenarios and situations that put you in events that would let your mind go on a loop. And the first thing is you break the loop. How do you break the loop? One, you focus on what you can control. That sounds very easy because you're like, oh, wow, focus on what you can control. Right. Why didn't I think of that? I'm trying, but it keeps coming in. This is where you have to realize that you, as an overthinker, you have more emotional needs than an average person. So let's say you're in a friendship. You focus on what you can control. What can you control? Felicia and Susan have a fight. Rather than Felicia keeping what happened to herself and just allowing Susan go home and not talking about it, well, this is where Felicia also has to put in the work. And hey, Susan, I don't like what you did. This happened. Oh, Felicia, I never knew you took it like that. Then they talk about it, and eventually it gives her a form of peace. Overthinking comes from individuals, or it comes as a result of anxiety. And anxiety doesn't have to be you having crazy panic attacks or you having strange and wild emotional tantrums. No, anxiety can just you being a kind of person that likes a particular form of reassurance. You can be a girl that likes to be constantly reassured in a relationship. So when your man doesn't give you enough reassurance, you start overthinking things and you start playing out scenarios in your head and it keeps going on and on and on. So what do? Focus on what you can control. When something happens, one, you're with a person and then something happens and then you're like, oh babe, this happened. Put you put your phone face down on the couch whenever you're with me and you don't put your phone face up whenever you're with me. It makes me feel like you might be cheating on me or you're doing something. And then your partner says it's not that deep and then he just ignores you. And then you try to focus on what you can control. Then you tell him again and then he's nonchalant about it. Focus on what you can control. I'm not asking you to leave the relationship. But as a person, what do you think you can control in that scenario if you're with a partner that doesn't calm your anxiety? Look for someone that calms your anxiety or stay in the scenario or a situation that keeps allowing you to miss out on peace of mind. If you're a girl or a guy who has a friend or something happens and you guys are fighting, what do? Focus on what you can control. When an event happens, tell your friend, oh dude, oh girl, this happened. I don't like what happened. Then you guys talk about it and then you move on from it. Because if you don't talk about it, it's never going to stop. And that's just the truth. Journaling, breathing, and mindfulness helps you ground yourself. Journaling is very good because it helps you to pour out what is going on in your head. So, right, don't let me skip ahead. Now, let's have this girl I used to date, and I've dated quite a lot of girls. And the other day, a friend of mine was talking about marriage with me, and I was like, if I find a girl, can I get married to her right now? I was like, yeah, because I've had experiences and I know what I want because I've dated quite a lot of girls. Now, this girl, she's different. She's an overthinker, and her overthinking is next level. She calls me every morning around 7 a.m. When I go to the gym. Before I leave the house to go to the gym, she calls me. When I get to the gym, she calls me. When I'm inside the gym, she calls me. And she calls to know if I'm still in the gym. Then when I go back to my car to want to go back home, she calls me. If I branch somewhere to get something, she calls me. Then when I get back home, she calls me. Then when I want to start working, she calls me. Then when she's coming over, she calls me. In a day, we call at least 20 to 50 times, and I am not exaggerating. But she's my girl. I love her. I love her. And I know she's an overthinker. She has abandonment issues and she has a crazy amount of anxiety. So it was left to me to indulge in overthinking and satisfy her anxiety, or else she would always overthink. Now, in our own scenario, if I was the boyfriend that found every bit of calling and communication needy and irritating, and then I just decided to just shun it and leave her and not satisfy her anxiety. Truth is, psychologically speaking, she might even want to keep staying in that relationship because a lot of people like toxic scenarios. But you as an individual, you want to be healthy, you want peace of mind, you want to be happy. Remember, momentum mori, you have just one life to live. Why choose to live a life whereby you're never happy, you're never at peace, you're just having dopamine spikes when you can have a real life where you are actually happy and have like a healthy dopamine state of mind? And don't get me wrong, for a relationship to be sustainable, there needs to be a bit of dopamine movement. But staying with somebody that doesn't calm your anxiety are just bad news for your mental health. So find somebody that indulges your anxiety and put it at rest, because the truth is, if you're an overthinker, there is no magic drug that would make it stop. The only drug that would cure you or help you to be able to live with it is you being outspoken. And then when things happen to you, you actually talk about it so people don't magically know what is going on with you, or you wait for people to magically know what is going on with you. You actually talk about it. And then when you talk about it, people can know what is going on. And also, you control what you can control, meaning you find the right friends and you find the right partners that know that you're an overthinker and will not put you in scenarios where you have to overthink and keep overthinking. Journaling also helps. So when you write down your thoughts, it helps you to pour out how you feel. Breathing, that's a form of meditation, helps. Meditation, which is also meditation also helps. The truth is, You don't need to have all the answers. Or overthinking comes from you not knowing and wanting to know, or something happened and then you just keep thinking, what did this person mean when this person did this? Did this person did this thing because this person thought did that, or because this person does it, or this person did that, or because this, and it doesn't stop. You want to know the answers and you want to like have everything figured out, but you never have everything figured out. But you want to keep thinking, and you keep thinking of thoughts, and you be thinking of things that happened, and then you start linking things to something that happened 3 weeks ago, then that happened 2 weeks ago, then you now see a pattern that looks like it happened in this similar. That's how overthinking works. And then it keeps going on and on and on and on, and then you find yourself staying up awake all night thinking about things that don't even make any sense, and then it starts to affect your mental health. You start to depreciate. In some bad scenarios, you probably go into therapy, or you start cutting yourself off from people, you start detaching. That wouldn't help you. Therapy would help you, don't get me wrong, but cutting yourself off from people would not help you. The best thing to do as an overthinker is to control what you can control. Find the right friends. This is bad because my mic is dead. I just realized my mic is dead. Find the right friends, find the right partner. Look, I'm not making this video again because I don't have the strength. I really hope everything I said was audible. Find the right friends, find the right partner, meditate, breathe when you start feeling like you're getting overwhelmed. Learn to calm your nerves. You don't have to have everything figured out. You don't have to have all the answers, but you should control what you can control. And if scenarios do not benefit you, or you think scenarios would spike your anxiety, let it go. Detach. Cut it off. Cut it. Cut it. The price is way too high. You need to cut it.